you for the video, and let me just start off with you, Zach. I remember it was 5 years ago that you and I discussed launching Toyota Connected, and for some reason I thought there was something big that happened that day, but I can't remember what it was, but it's been an exciting time. I know it was a startup company, 5 years on now. What were the lessons learned? What are some of the highlights? How are you feeling about the outlook of it?
I'm super excited. It outsurpassed anything I had expected. You know, it's a small little company. We were given the opportunity to, originally the idea was we want to make sure that the data is safe and managed. But as I had the opportunity to launch Toyota Connected, we talked about we can use data to transform people's experiences. We can give them, as we saw in the video, where I felt like we're having these really discrete experiences. So if I'm using my phone and I have one experience, I'm in the car and have a separate one, why shouldn't that just flow with you? And I also thought, can't we even take that a step further and make data really work for people? Not exploit data at the expense of the customer, but really make data excited and a person be delighted about what they're experiencing in the car. So, and that's exactly what we did. You saw in the video, we launched the digital assistant, a virtual assistant in the car. We hired these machine learning, artificial intelligence experts, a small team that we've grown, and we thought, hey, I can't compete with what the world is doing, but I can make the in-cabin experience really good. And that's what you're going to see tomorrow, and I'm excited that our customers are going to have an opportunity to do that. And probably the other thing that I'm really most excited about is there's a telematics service provider, so the connectivity between the vehicle and the cloud and the infrastructure, and also what you're all used to is pushing the button in the phone or in the car and then getting a call center. That's what we call a telematics service provider, or a TSP. But what we were seeing in the industry was, because it had grown and had not really matured in the best way, that the stability wasn't there, and it wasn't a great platform for the future. And so we rebuilt that at Toyota Connected. We brought it in-house. Today we have over 3 million customers connected to it. We even have other OEMs, including Mazda, that I can mention, using it. And it is the perfect platform for the future, and to allow us to do better over-the-air updates and to keep our customers' data safe and themselves safe. And so we're a company of about 300 people. More than 85% of them are software engineers. And as I also said in the video, that we spent the first few years normalizing and getting the data and trying to figure out what data is meaningful. You hear the expression that data is the new oil, but nobody really talks about the refineries that you have to build. And essentially that's what we built. But now we're able to ingest the data, and we've built, and we're going to talk also a little bit later about privacy principles, but we put the customer in charge of their own data. So if they want to opt into these services, they can. If they don't want to opt in, they can go to their phone and easily do it. And we were one of the leaders that worked with the US government in establishing the privacy principles. So I'm really excited about what this team has created in the first 5 years.
It's been phenomenal to watch. Just congratulations on the growth and the success with Toyota Connected. Now, Steve, we talked about your two roles. I touched on earlier. How and why was Connected Technologies as opposed to Toyota Connected? How was Connected Technologies formed?
Yeah, so we had two main reasons. The first reason was our previous multimedia systems were developed in Japan, and the customer experience in Japan is not necessarily the same customer experience that we should have in the US. So for the first time in our history, we decided let's bring that responsibility to North America. The second reason was, even within TM&A in North America, we had different groups working on different things. We had an electronic engineering group in R&D. We had an IT group working on some of the systems. We had a business planning, a marketing group. All these different groups reporting up to different people in the organization. And so what we did was we suddenly realized that if we are to solve this problem, or we are to build this amazing multimedia system, which by the way you will see tomorrow, if you are to build this amazing system, we have to bring these people together. So we created Connected Technologies as that new group. We brought all those functions, all those peoples, and we cut across all those different silos across our organization. So now, when we're planning systems, we have people from business planning, from marketing, from electronic engineering, from IT, all in the same room, building that solution, the one time. And that's what you're going to see tomorrow. That's why it's so different. So they were the two reasons why.
That's hard to do in a big company, so congratulations getting us all aligned. Zach, I'm going to go to you for one more question, then open it up for your questions. You talk a lot about big data and how it can change our lives. Give me some examples or anecdotes. How do you expect it to change the lives of our customers? How will it enhance customers' experience?
You know, when we launched Toyota Connected and we talked about what would our mission be, and I know it sounds, I don't know, overdone, but we really said we should be able to give back to society and make the world a better place through data and elevate the game. It wasn't about taking people's data and selling them ads as they're driving down the street. It was about making them safer or making their lives better along the way. And some examples I can give you is obviously we're all familiar with when there's an emergency, being able to send the emergency responders to the right location where the accident happened. But then we also have more data around how many seatbelts were buckled or what was the velocity. That's pretty bad, yeah. So we started there, but then we had early on with Toyota Connected, we had a chance to launch a car sharing or project in Hawaii, and it's called Hui. And the concept is, and you can go to Hawaii now. You can look up the app. It's HUI Hui, and that means friend or family, extended family in Hawaiian. But you can use your phone, reserve a car, and what's different about it is within a few minutes you can have access to a car, unlike some of the other car sharing, and then your phone becomes a digital key. But when I was there, I was watching the news, and they were showing how many deaths were happening every year from hot car deaths from children being left in the car. And I thought that could be a good idea of where could data solve that problem. And after lots of iterations, we've determined that you can use sensors. You can be able to use other forms. If a baby has fallen asleep in the back, can we use these small sensors that detect a heartbeat and then could notify the 911 responders? Can you roll down the windows? Can you honk the horns? It's those types of things. We're also right now testing with Amazon and AT&T to use the outward-facing camera on an Amber Alert. So if a customer opts in and says, I want to participate in Amber Alerts, can we use the outward-facing camera to look for that license plate number? Or if you have a Silver Alert, a wandering senior, can you use facial recognition to look for that? I think our cars, if customers want to opt in and we keep the other privacy of the bystanders safe, that we can use this data to make people's lives better. Plus, we can help you route your own traffic and get you the best parking. And I will tell you something that we did get the patent on is that we can use data to know when you've gone into a parking structure and looking at the rate of your turn and acceleration and braking, we can tell you when you get out of the car, you're on the third level in the northeast corner, and we can do that with about 87% accuracy right now. So these are small examples of conveniences all the way to life-saving, and I think that's the future of where we can take data.
That is so fascinating. Can I prevent my wife from finding that information out?
I'm sending it to her as we speak.
Damn it, man. Well, I don't want to hog this, so I'm going to shoot it over to you guys. We got Brian first, then Paul. Oh, hang on one second, Brian.
Thank you. First of all, congratulations. First question, with hacking prevalent in the news these days, what type of safety protocols have you built into the system? Second question, since this was developed specifically for the North American market, will you have a South African version, a Japanese version, a European version, a Korean version for your different world markets?
Yeah, so from a security point of view, I'm glad you asked that question. We have a separate security team that doesn't report into my group, that still reports into Zach, but that group's job is to implement the industry-leading cutting-edge security into our vehicles. And everything we build is tested by that team separately. So, we don't sign off on what we've done. They have to sign off, and if they find something that they don't like or they want us to change, they go ahead and do that. We've hired some of the top security engineers in the world to do this for us. So we are 100% sure that we have your customer data secured, and that we will not be able to be hacked in that way. So that's the answer on the security.
Well, I never want to taunt the bad guys. I will say, because it is a bit of an arms race. So today, I think that we're doing everything best in class. We've got, as Steve said, we've got the best researchers, the best technology, and we're invested throughout the life cycle on the hardware, the cloud side, the software in the car. And as these cars, as you all know, are becoming more connected, you've got many different ports of entry through Wi-Fi, RFID, tire sensors. There's lots of entry points potentially into the car, and so we all are working as an industry to do everything we can to future-proof ourselves. And one of the great things about over-the-air updates is that even when new vulnerabilities are found, we have the ability to kind of go in and patch those in the future.
And then your second part of the question, actually what we found out is when we started building this solution for North America, the rest of the world looked at what we were doing and said, yeah, we want that. So actually, 80% of the UX design that we built here for North America is actually going to be global. So region by region, there are some small differences, but the majority is the same. Now, moving forward, because we did such a great job on this, my team is going to take on more responsibility for the European, Australian, and New Zealand markets for the next generation systems. And we've already started building these teams in Australia, in London, in India. So we have now distributed teams around the world who are going to work together to build that system.
So let me ask one question of each of you. First, can you talk about how you will integrate into all the new home automation systems? Virtually everybody I know has an Alexa or a Google Home or something.
Yeah.
So you can't stand alone. You have to be able to work with them. And I know Apple and Google are trying to work together now, so technology can be pretty seamless. Can you talk about that? And the second thing is software as a service. I've heard many an automaker now try to find ways that they'll be able to make money going forward, whether it's making you pay monthly for a heated seat or send you video when you have a semi-autonomous car. Where's the future of that?
Yeah, you want to take the first? Yeah. So when we talk about the other technology companies, like you said, Alexa, we've already done that integration, especially with our new One App, our mobile app platform. So now you can already go into and say, hey Alexa, start my Lexus. And it will start your vehicle in the morning, so you don't need to go into your app. So that level of integration has already been done. But what you will see tomorrow is how we are integrating with some of the other features, some of the other companies like Google and Apple, where we are coming closer. Yes, we are competitors in some areas, but actually we are working together in others where there's mutual beneficial ties up. So you'll see that tomorrow, and I don't want to blow, I don't want to kind of preempt some of that stuff for tomorrow. But anyway, when you see the demo, you will see how we are working closer with those companies.
What was the second question?
Software as a service.
Oh, the software. Yeah, I think we're seeing it today, right? I mean, whether it's Tesla or, as you said, there's. Am I losing my?
Oh, you got it.
Okay. Today we don't have anything that we're announcing, but I think based on the platform and the technology that you're going to see tomorrow, that gives us those opportunities that if we want to have differentiation in the market, we have that ability to do it.
Do you see a point at which some significant share of revenue could come to a company like Toyota from? Do you see a point at some point where a significant share of revenue could come from, whether it be letting people download a new feature for the car that's been developed, or paying to upgrade maps, or video, or any of these other features?
Yeah, and we're actually doing it today. So for fleet companies, Avis, Hertz, Enterprise are already paying for data. So one of the problems that they wanted to solve for is lots of business rentals that you're in today. You drive a short distance, but you return it and they think it's still full, but you've consumed some fuel. We can now let them know no fuel was added, and so they're paying for that on a monthly basis on a per vehicle. Plus, we're letting them know, we've even got algorithms to detect if they've been in a slow speed bump or crash. So not bad enough to deploy the airbag, but we can use enough of the sensor data to say they ran into something. And so the fleet companies are willing to pay for that. And so we're doing that today. And I think on the future side for the consumer, there absolutely is that opportunity to move into that space if say a luxury end customer wants to pay for other services, then we can activate that. And we're planning for that today.
Thank you. Larry?
This is a problem with following Paul. He always takes one of your questions. I was going to ask you about monetizing your software, but the other thing I want to ask about is in developing this new multimedia system, Toyota has not really been a leader in this space before. Do you think you've leapfrogged your competitors? And if so, how? And And if you haven't, do you think you're on par now
Yeah.
with them? Are they?
And let me start this one because he was the biggest complainer about our systems from before, and that's why he's in
I
charge
find it
of
hard to believe, but okay.
But that was the motivation for putting Steve, because he had so much passion around how much he hated our old systems. And so he was the perfect guy to lead this. And I've consistently said, and you'll have a chance to meet some of our engineers that are here in the room today, but what we always told our team is when it was, go left or go right, it was, I want you to build what you're proud to go home and show your family and your neighbors. And if you can't do that, then that's not the right answer. And we are proud to show you what we're going to show you tomorrow.
And for me, the answer is yes. So.
Take one right here.
So 4 or 5G system, and the customer does have the ability to tailor what they want to give you folks, but can they request the data that's been harvested from them?
So the answer was that it is a 4G system, and yes, so we are putting in place the mechanism to allow customers to get access to the data if they want it, or if they want to send their data to a third-party repair shop, we are also putting in place those mechanisms. Because as Zach said, our goal was not here to take the data and just make use of it for our own purposes. Everything we do, we want to make sure it's for the customer.
Thank you.
So I know you touched on this a little bit earlier, but there's tremendous popularity in the market of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Where does the OEM system fit into that world today? And how do you get consumers to use your system either in harmony with other systems or in place of?
So the first thing is we want to give customers choice. If they want to use CarPlay and Android Auto, we have worked with those companies and we have implemented those systems. What we have done is we haven't looked at their system, and we've said, let's build the system that we want, that we would want to use. And it's that customer experience and that integration into the vehicle that we believe will allow customers to want to use our system. So you will see it tomorrow. You will see how well designed it is, how intuitive it is, how easy to use. And we believe if it's easy to use and intuitive, then customers will use that rather than going into CarPlay and Android Auto. But choice is the key.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have time for one last question. Gentleman in the back.
I don't think I'm alone in this room that Toyota's cars historically have been evergreen. Like, they last forever, and that's one of the real great testaments to your product. In this current age of technology where, these devices to all of us are kind of disposable, we know we're not going to have them for more than a couple of years, things like that. And to his point, putting something OEM in the system that's so integrated. And the video mentioned updates and things like that, but the hardware built into the car, with those updates, is there any sort of worry about obsolescence before the car would normally die? You know what I mean? Like, is the same thought process of the longevity of the engineering of the cars that Toyota's been making for ages, is that same thinking into these new systems? Or is that going to be the new thing that's the Achilles heel, and the car will run for another 200,000 miles with no effort, but this thing won't update anymore? And has that kind of, obviously it's been thought about, but what would you say to someone who might be a tad skeptical about it?
Great question.
Want to talk about? I think there's a few things, right? It is a challenge, right? You got to future-proof this vehicle, and how much hardware can you put in there in memory and processing power that customers aren't willing to pay for today? And so how do you find that right balance? But there are newer technologies, particularly on the chipset and the processing side, that you can do with some of the large providers, I won't name their names, where we can pay for what we're using and then do over-the-air updates to get more processing power. And that begins to give us some more runway to future-proof these vehicles. If there's anything.
No, I was going to say the same thing. So there are new solutions out there that will enable us to do exactly what you said. And then the software teams that you will see, like, we've built these software teams in-house. So our commitment is to keep that software up to date. So on both sides, we believe we can keep our vehicles, because as you said, our vehicles go on forever. Our goal is to make sure our technology goes on forever.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank you.
your time.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Dinner is right behind us and drinks as well, so please join us.
That concludes this session. Thank you for joining.